Hey there, welcome to Millennium.Milestone Presents, a site dedicated to storytelling in books, movies, video games, and other exciting genres, where I found a summer job at a local theme park. We're still working on looking for Fred, so don't anybody ask me whatever happened to him. We last saw him by the concession stand, but we'll give you an update on that later on. Anyways, while I was doing scrolling down Twitter, I completely forgot that there was another movie I needed to go look and see, and that's The End of Oak Street. And don't get me wrong, I didn't necessarily have interest in watching this movie, but I knew that this looked interesting enough that it needed to at least be looked at and see what we could find out about this. It's a movie starring Anne Hathaway and Ewan McGregor as a couple with two kids who are landed in a Land of the Lost meets Suburbia type of movie. And we're going to find out there's a certain thing about this movie that sums up how I feel about it.
Damn, that's some fucked up shit.
Now, I wouldn't necessarily use this on any random occasion here, but I'm not kidding. That is exactly my reaction when I watched The End of Oak Street. And you're just going to have to bear with me and judge what I mean by that statement. Because on one hand, you might find this entertaining. And on the other hand, well, like my friend just said,
that is some pretty fucked up shit.
So let's get into it right now. Set in 1980 suburbia, the Platt family is celebrating summer with a bang, seeming like a happy family like any family in the 1980s. However, we are starting to see cracks in the facade of this happy dynamic when, of course, we start to see Denise, who is hiding her writing work from her husband Greg because she doesn't trust that he would want her to do this. Then she goes to a neighbor whose husband, an aspiring writer himself, who encourages her to go forth with this dream of hers. In the midst of this conversation, she discovers that there's a plant growing in her backyard that has never been seen before. So Denise offers to look into this and find out what is this new plant that is hiding in here that foreshadows something to come later on in this. Meanwhile, Greg is hiding from the rest of the family his problems as, of course, he lost his job and he's now doing pizza delivery work to try and make ends meet, trying to be the husband that he tries to be. And, of course, the children of the Platt family are isolated from everyone else and don't feel like they fit in anywhere else. We get to see inklings of what they want to become. One to become an astronomer, while the son's only aspirations appear to be just for his dog, avoid bullying, and having a crush on a girl, or as it seems presented here, pining over a girl that's way over his league. I kind of already sense the impending doom of our male characters in this movie, as we can already tell that they're, well, how should I put it?
Alpha, beta, cuck.
Yep, our male protagonists are indeed not the central figures in this movie. It's clear that Denise is kind of the heroine, the main protagonist of this entire story. And what can I say? Another girl boss? Why not? And I should have guessed it because at least one little thing that indicated that this was definitely going to be someone else going to be quite the girl boss. There was at least one scene in there where I noticed a portrait of Denise with a shotgun. So lo and behold, later on in the film, we get to see her on full display being able to show her marksmanship skills against what comes next. The one thing I'll give credit to Bad Robot is they always know how to set up a good premise that keeps your interest really up in a movie. They've done this as far back as Alias, they've done this as far back as Lost, they've done this with Super 8, they've done this with movies like Star Trek 2009 and onward. But there's one thing that's always been a problem with Bad Robot is they love to hit you with what everybody would like to call the mystery box. What do you ask is the mystery box? Well, allow me to let J.J. Abrams explain that to you.
I find myself drawn to infinite possibility and that sense of potential, and I realize that mystery is the catalyst for imagination. Now, it's not the most groundbreaking idea, but when I started to think that maybe there are times when mystery is more important than knowledge, I started getting interested in this.
Essentially, J.J. Abrams is saying, the hell with explaining what the mystery box is. Just give the person the mystery box and let them think about it, stare at it, imagine about it. That's all you're basically getting with any J.J. Abrams Bad Robot ideas. And I want to be very clear, with the mystery box element itself, I don't have a problem with that. It's the lazy aspect of it that I really do hate about it, because essentially what they're saying is you work up the resolution to what the mystery is as you go. Or in some cases, you just don't at all. And sometimes that can work in some movies that don't require, like, let's just use a simple example here, Star Wars. You don't need an explanation on the Force. The Force is just what Yoda tells you and nothing else. You don't need a scientific approach to it, even though later on in the prequels that was done a little bit with midichlorians. Let's not even get into that. But the point is, mystery boxes can work, but you do need something that's just as important as a mystery box, and that's the payoff. Now, with the end of Oak Street, there is a payoff. I'm going to be very clear here. However, I'm going to refer to what my friend said earlier.
Damn, that's some fucked up shit.
That's the part that I'm having to talk about, and that's the payoff to this movie. Now, this is going to require me talking about some spoilers here, but I'm going to get to that a little bit later. I'm going to put a timestamp now to mention where I'm going to get to the spoiler of the end of the movie here, because I don't want to touch on that just yet. But trust me when I tell you, yeah, like my friend said.
That is some pretty fucked up shit.
So the Black family eventually figure out what's going on in pretty easy fashion. It doesn't take a genius to realize that we're not in Kansas anymore. And they hold themselves up in their own home, at least for a little bit, until they can figure out what their plan is. And then they do come up with a plan. More chaos ensues, which I'm not going to spoil here, because, I do want you to at least try to enjoy this movie if you do intend to watch it. But let's just say that a lot of idiotic things happen that bring them out and about into the danger more than you would like. In the midst of that chaos, you get a lot of dinos coming out of nowhere, mutilating and devouring any human they can find left and right. And I gotta say, it comes pretty close to Primitive War, which I watched, and I felt like Primitive War was a little bit more gruesome in terms of its dinos mutilating humans. But this movie comes pretty close to the edge of it. Still just friendly enough that you can still be entertained and not turn your eyes away from the action. Among the many casualties in this movie are pretty much every neighbor that you see in this movie. Nobody is spared practically in this movie, except for the women. Gee, I wonder why that happens, but I'll leave it to your interpretation why that is. But older women get taken out. Chinese women get taken out. But nobody in the Platt family gets taken out, which, about that, let's touch on some spoilers now. So if you're not interested in hearing spoilers, I would advise you click away or at least go to the next timestamp where I don't talk about spoilers anymore. Alright, on to spoilers here. Now, as you already know from the beginning of what we already mentioned, Greg and Denise are on the outs here, and it's no secret as you get on further along in the movie here that they're on the verge of divorce here because neither one can settle on what they truly want here. And unfortunately, that is used as sort of a part of the plot device for this movie in the sense that Greg never comes out being forthcoming as to what needs to be done to get the job done. It's always Denise that's kind of pushing along the plot, so to speak, on Greg, and Greg is just there for the ride. And at some point, though, even though you kind of see that Greg is treated like a beta boy here, he does actually try in the end to be more of a hero here, and the story does try to give him a heroic moment, but it's undercut by the fact that, one, you get a comical scene of the two of them seemingly running into more dino danger in this, when all of a sudden they're finding, and I kid you not when I say this, two dinosaurs humping each other. I'm not joking. I'm not making this up. Yes, that happens. And it leads to a somewhat tender moment in the sense that they take a picture of the moment, just kind of laugh out off, and before, of course, the imminent danger begins after that. A big old T-Rex appears, and the entire family has to run and scramble all over the place. Denise gets separated, and despite shooting several shots at the T-Rex, ends up getting cornered right inside a porch area where she's nearly devoured when, of course, finally her husband comes to the rescue, slams a hammer right in the T-Rex's face, only for the next thing to happen. Yep. Unfortunately, our dear Ewan McGregor actor here does not have the high ground this time around. Now, you're probably asking yourself at this point, but Mike, what's so effed up about that? Male characters die in movies all the time. Well, hate to tell you this, that's not the effed up part that I'm referring to. You see, if you notice in the beginning of the movie, There's these blinding lights that are referred to throughout the film, which isn't given a true explanation you're ever going to find at all, but you do find out that these wormholes are opening that move things from one place to another, much like the entire Oak Street neighborhood that's been moved to prehistoric times. So the family finds out that this is the only way you can return back home possibly, and you have to really time it to get into these wormholes. Now, I am aware that earlier I said that nobody in the Platt family died. Obviously, I fibbed a little there, and I only did that because I wanted to make sure that nobody was spoiled by the actual end of the film. But yes, this is now a Platt family led by Denise, who spearheads the group all the way up to a house where they see a semblance of the light again, only in the daytime, and know that this is their only chance to get home. And of course, like any long road to home, there's always going to be an obstacle or two, or in this case, a million of them, involving dinosaurs hiding and lurking in every corner of this house. And of course, none of the women ever get hurt in any of this. But once again, the son is the first one to jump. To his credit, he did actually offer to do this, so let's leave that in there. And of course, he misses and falls all the way down to the bottom of the yard and has to be brought all the way back up to the roof once again to jump onto the wormhole that they've been trying to reach.
Damn, that's some fucked up shit.
No, not quite. After, of course, more humans get devoured that protect the family from getting hurt as they try to jump into the wormhole once again, the family finally makes it on the third try, and lo and behold, the story writers decide to pull a Back to the Future, and guess where the family is at? At the beginning of the whole situation that started in the first place the night before. So for some convenient storytelling here, Denise realizes if this is the case, why not make a phone call and tell a certain someone to come over here and come pick us up and make a pizza delivery.
God damn it! You can't make this shit up!
Now, I'm fully aware that this is not supposed to be that kind of movie where you're supposed to be expounding your brain and making calculations on what should or should not happen in this. I understand that logic was not supposed to be in this movie, especially coming from Bad Robot of all places. But really think about this for one moment. Denise's actual husband died in the prehistoric world. She just asked the other Greg, who was in this timeline, to abandon the family that was going to go through that experience that they just went through without him.
That is some pretty fucked up shit.
So needless to say, it took me a while to process that reality once I realized what had just happened here and how incredibly stupid this story already ends up being by the end of it all. So with that in mind, I'm not going to try and convince you of anything other than what I just threw out in front of you. If you want to go see this movie and turn your brain off, by all means. But if you have your brain on, well, let's just say you're gonna be sorely disappointed trying to make sense of this movie at all. So with that in mind, I'm gonna say that Oak Street is a bit entertaining. It's not an egregiously horrifying film, but it just has some of the boring tropes that I'm kind of tired of when it comes to movie making from Hollywood. Number one being women being in charge of everything and men being baited to oblivion in this. That really bothered me more than anything. And it's probably more so the reason why I'm gonna give this a mid rating. It's not terrible, but it's not great either, because at least Anne Hathaway, and even to some extent, Ewan McGregor do carry this film decently well, and the kids are not that terrible. The actors aren't the worst people possible. They haven't, caused any controversy outside of the movie being made, unfortunately. I do need to mention that the son, the actor that was in this movie, did pass away sometime after the film was made. So, a little side note to, put a dent in my review a little bit, which, again, that doesn't affect how I feel about the movie itself, but I did want to at least mention that. All in all, decent film, but definitely not something I'm going to be eager to see anytime soon. But hey, you tell me what you thought. Did you think this was the greatest thing ever written from a director? Or did you thought this was some kind of bonanza psychedelic dream that no one is ever going to see again? Well, you tell me in the comments how I should have thought about this film. But you know what I say? Like, share, and subscribe, and you best better believe I'll be back for the next one.